Discover 13 miraculous creatures of the Bible, unveiling God's plan in the hidden world of Job 41. In the days of the great patriarchs, Job of the land of Uz was a righteous man, blameless and upright, one who feared God and turned away from evil. His wealth was abundant, and his family a blessing. Yet as the heavens cast their shade upon the earth, a tempest of affliction befell him. The heavens remained silent, while Job sat among the ashes, overwhelmed with sorrow from the unparalleled loss of his wealth, health, and beloved children. He longed for an audience with the all-powerful, aching to understand the justice of his tragic fate. As twilight descended, cloaking the land in shadows, a profound stillness enveloped Job's heart. It was then that a voice like thunder pierced the silence. "Job, gird up your loins like a man. I will question you, and you make it known to me." With fear and reverence, Job trembled, acutely aware of his frailty before the Creator. The air vibrated with the promise of revelation as God commenced to unfold the wonders of creation, the splendor of the earth and the opulence of the heavens. "Can you draw out Leviathan with a fishhook?" God inquired, invoking a creature of ineffable might, stirring visions of a being shrouded in the mystery of the Creator's design. Leviathan, with scales like armor and teeth like swords, symbolized both chaos and the uncontainable power of God. "Who can stand before its mighty wrath? Who can confront it and live to tell the tale?" echoed God's compelling words, leaving Job enveloped in a mixture of dread and awe. Before Job's eyes, the majestic Leviathan roared in the depths of his imagination, a creature untamed, a symbol of the primal forces that existed outside of human grasp. The depths of the sea, where this creature roamed, became an allegory of Job's own suffering, vast, unknown, and seemingly chaotic. Job began to comprehend that God's ways, much like Leviathan's nature, carried an inscrutable purpose beyond the human mind's reach. As God continued, He revealed the intricacies of creation, reminding Job of his limitations. The celestial bodies danced in obedience to their Creator. Even the clouds obeyed him, pouring forth rain as a symbol of his merciful grace. "Do you know when the mountain goats give birth? Do you observe the carving of the deer?" With these questions, God unveiled the tender moments of life, interwoven within the fabric of creation, echoing the sacred purpose threading through even the darkest trials. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. As shadows deepened, the weight of divine scrutiny intensified. Job grappled with his anguish, questioning why he, the righteous, must endure chaos while seemingly unpunished wickedness flourished. In this sacred conversation, God's overwhelming greatness contrasted with Job's fragile existence. With every revelation, Job was drawn closer to an understanding of divine purpose amid suffering, seeking the threads that stitched his trials into the broader tapestry of God's design. The sun lowered behind the mountains, casting an ethereal glow over the land of Uz. Job stood not only before the majestic Leviathan of the seas, but also on the brink of revelation regarding his own life. Amid the chaos and darkness, was there hope? In this divine dialogue, God prepared to unveil the transcendent purposes interwoven with Job's suffering, leaving him poised on the edge of understanding, yearning to uncover the redemptive narrative that awaited him. Then the Lord continued, "Can you bind the chains of the Pleiades, or loose the cords of Orion?" The very constellations shone above, eternal witnesses to the unfolding narrative of creation. Job's heart trembled. He was but a fleeting shadow, humbled by the knowledge that the Maker of the stars, the one who knows each by name, cared about the sorrows of a man in the dust. "Do you know the ordinances of the heavens?" God asked. And in that moment, the vastness of the universe seemed to echo back the solemnity of the question. "Can you establish their rule over the earth?" The divine voice reverberated, drawing Job deeper into contemplation, compelling him to recognize his place, not just as a sufferer, but as a vessel in God's grand design. "And what of the mountain goats?" God inquired further. "How do they know the season of their calving? Who watches over the wild donkey when it wanders? Is it not I who provided the wilderness for its days, where it roams unconfined?" Job listened, awestruck, for in every question was an invitation to acknowledge the intricate details of God's care in all creation, even the least of his creatures. "Will the ox be willing to serve you?" the Lord asked. "Will it spend the night by your crib?" Each question seemed to reflect Job's own plight, yet also the ferocity of God's love for every creation. Job realized that his suffering, though painful and bewildering, did not exist outside the watchful eye of the Almighty. "Have you given the horse its might? Have you clothed its neck with a mane?" As God spoke, he led Job from the earth to the skies. The strength of the horse galloping into battle mirrored the strength in the midst of trials. Job understood then that strength was forged in the fires of suffering, just as a horse was prepared for the tumult of war. As the daylight dwindled, the voice of the Lord, powerful yet tender, descended deeper into the heart of Job's anguish. "Is it by your understanding that the hawk soars and spreads its wings toward the south?" The beauty of the creation unfolded like petals in the dawn. God's wisdom permeated every corner of existence. Job wrestled with these probes of divine wisdom, feeling the weight of divine proximity and purpose press upon him. It was as though every word chiseled away at the stone of his doubt, revealing the tender truth nestled within. The Lord had knitted Job into the very fabric of his creation, intricately and purposefully. "From whom did wisdom come?" God asked, pausing in the quiet majesty of the moment. "Whose understanding has been given breath?" A shivering realization dawned upon Job like the first light of morning. It was God himself, the fountain of wisdom from whom all understanding flows. Tears mixed with the dust upon Job's face as he perceived an unfathomable truth, that amidst his suffering there lay a deeper purpose, one that tied him intimately to the heart of God. His heart, once steeped in despair, began to stir with hope, the hope of the divine presence that walks alongside those in darkness. The Lord's voice echoed once more. "Do you observe the spreading of the clouds, the thunder of his pavilion? I am enthroned above the chaos." And with these words, Job was drawn into a resolution. He felt the tethering of his spirit to God's sovereign narrative. There, in the twilight, with the mysteries of creation unfolding before him, Job sensed the dimly lit path towards understanding his trials was leaning towards a newfound revelation. "What is it that you desire to show me, O Lord?" he pondered, the questions still lingering in the air like the scent of rain. And so, in that sacred dialogue, the depth of God's plan began to stir within Job's heart, whispering that soon he would discover not only the creatures of the deep, but also the boundless depths of God's mercy and the intricate web of divine purpose interwoven through his very existence. For a story yet untold loomed, heralding the eventual restoration that awaited, echoing the promise of hope, even amidst suffering. How might God weave these trials into a testimony of unimaginable grace? "Can you draw out Leviathan with a hook, or snare his tongue with a line which you lower?" The voice of the Lord thundered, and in that moment Job felt his heart quicken. The name of Leviathan stirred both fear and awe within him. the great creature of the deep, serving as a testament to God's unfathomable power. "Will you play with him as with a bird?" God continued, the questions rolling like waves crashing upon the shores of Job's understanding. "Or will you leash him for your maidens?" The imagery of Leviathan, ferocious and untamed, loomed large in Job's mind, its presence a reminder of God's sovereignty over all creation, seen and unseen. Who can confront him and be safe? Who can withstand his fearsome visage? The Creator's questions wrapped around Job, filling him with wonder. Did not God himself stand eternal above all that was created? Job's spirit quivered at the thought, the boundaries of his understanding pushing wider as he pondered the inaccessibility of such majesty. His sneezings flash forth light, and his eyes are like the eyelids of the morning, the Lord declared. Job envisioned the creature, fierce and glorious, reflecting the ancient mysteries of the seas, a spectacle of divine craftsmanship. It was a creature who knew no limits, instilling within Job a profound respect for the designs of the Almighty Architect. Out of his mouth go burning lights. Sparks of fire shoot forth, God articulated, the vivid imagery painting a scene that rendered Job speechless. Smoke goes up from his nostrils as from a boiling pot and burning rushes. Job was engulfed in the vivid reality of God's magnificent creation that defied human control. His back is made of rows of shields, shut up closely as with a seal, the Lord continued, revealing armor that could not be pierced. One is so near another that no air can come between them. Job could hardly imagine such a beast, yet here was God, urging him to behold the strength of his sovereignty. "Is it by your understanding that the hawk soars and spreads its wings toward the south?" God's prior words echoed anew in the chambers of Job's heart. The sky, the creatures above and below, the unfathomable depths of the sea, all were under the watchful eye of the Almighty. "What strength God wields!" Job exclaimed inwardly, overwhelmed by the wealth of divine truths perched just beyond his grasp. The gaze of the Lord now turned on Job, shrouded in gentle rebuke yet filled with grace. Shall the fault-finder contend with the Almighty? He who argues with God, let him answer it. Job's heart sank. In this moment of divine confrontation, he understood the futility of his human doubts against the sovereign will of God. "Behold, the hope I offer you is nestled within the enormity of my power," God proclaimed, sounding like a gentle whisper amidst the roar of the heavens, though filled with firm resolution. He who created can also restore. He who allows the trials to unfold also weaves them into a greater tapestry. Job felt the weight of purpose descend upon him, the truth that his suffering was not in vain, but rather instrumental in the divine narrative. "Who is like me, O Lord?" he lisped, a prayer and a question mingling in his soul. In divine wisdom lay the promise of transformation, of revelation through adversity, knitting together the strands of hope. Leviathan remained a symbol of the complexities of God's creation, much like Job's own trials, a testament to the renewed strength that comes from understanding one's place in the vast tapestry of God's plan. And as the fullness of night wrapped around him, illuminating the canvas of stars above, a stirring grew within Job's heart. What greater wonders awaited him? What divine resolutions lay at the end of this tale, intertwining loss with regaining, surrender with strength? Little did he know, the path before him was guided by the very hand that shaped the universe, and the time was drawing near when he would witness the dawn of restoration, yet unseen, heralding new life from the depths of despair. "Now prepare yourself like a man. I will question you, and you shall answer me," came the commanding voice of the Lord, resounding in the stillness of the night. Job's heart clenched, for the gravity of this divine discourse weighed heavily upon him. "Would you indeed annul my judgment? Would you condemn me that you may be justified?" Each question dripped with divine authority, unmistakably piercing through Job's spirit. He felt the depths of his own frailty again, a creature molded from dust, grappling with the Creator whose decisions were unfathomable. Have you an arm like God, or can you thunder with a voice like His? As God spoke, images filled Job's mind of the mountains trembling at His might, of the seas parting before His command. Deck yourself with majesty and splendor, and array yourself with glory and beauty. Job, absorbing this challenge, grappled with understanding how mere humanity could ever stand in the presence of such infinite grandeur. Look on everyone who is proud, and bring him low. Tread down the wicked in their place, the Lord continued, each declaration echoing with divine purpose. Job felt the overwhelming truth that in every act of humility, in every moment of surrender to God's will, there was potential for true exaltation. Hide them in the dust together, bind their faces in hidden darkness. Job understood with a growing clarity the nature of divine justice, a justice that could not be swayed by man's feeble understanding, and that held purpose beyond his suffering. Then I will also confess to you that your own right hand can save you, God said, inviting reflection upon the true source of salvation. Job's heart swelled as he contemplated that no human hand could reverse the trials that consumed him. Only the hand of the Almighty, full of mercy and love, offered any hope for his redemption. As the Lord shaped his discourse like a potter forms clay, an awe-inspiring vision enveloped Job's senses. He beheld the great beasts of the earth, the majestic deer bounding across the hills, and the fierce lion prowling for its prey, all under the watchful gaze of their Creator. Who provided for the raven its prey, when its young ones cry to God and wander about for lack of food? The realization dawned upon Job. God's providence extended to all creation, intricately woven with care even through the chaos. At that moment, the enormity of God's purpose began to unfold in the silence, wrapping around his heart like a warm embrace. What can you fathom, Job? God's voice was soft yet firm, gently acknowledging the limitations of the finite against the backdrop of the infinite. Am I not the one who stirs the sea and commands the storms? A sense of surrender blossomed within Job as he contemplated the unyielding power and majestic sovereignty of God. In the echoes of the Lord's voice, as night deepened around him, Job could feel the stirrings of transformation, a burgeoning hope interwoven within the fabric of every question and revelation. The winds of change were approaching, riding on the clouds that boasted vibrant hues of dawn. Thus far shall you come, but no farther, and here your proud waves must stop. Job was reminded of his place amidst creation. He was both beloved and humbled, a remarkable paradox within the grand narrative of God. What divine resolve would soon be revealed, and what restoration lay just around the bend, waiting to unfurl like the morning light. As divine mysteries lingered in the shadows, Job's heart quickened with anticipation. Something wondrous was on the horizon, unfathomable yet promised in the unparalleled love of his Creator. The turning of the tides of his despair would soon reveal God's sovereign plan. Will you indeed annul my judgment? Will you condemn me that you may be justified? The question lingered in the air like thunder, echoing through Job's weary heart, which had long battled against despair. The piercing reflection of God's words turned Job's soul inward, compelling him to reckon with the enormity of such divine inquiry. Job remained silent, consumed by the grandeur of the Creator's declaration and the weight of his own unworthiness. As he stood in the presence of the Almighty, he felt as transient as the grass beneath his feet. The enormity of the cosmos weighed heavily on his spirit. How could he, a mere man, contend with the infinite wisdom and sovereignty enveloped in those intervals of divine discourse? Have you an arm, like God? The Lord's voice reverberated with an intensity that filled the atmosphere, transforming the night into a profound canopy of creation. Or can you thunder with a voice like His? Job envisioned the mountains adorned with glory, their majesty bowing low before the splendor of God's might. His heart swelled with awe as he witnessed the image of the earth shaking, the heavens bending at the Lord's command. "Deck yourself with majesty and splendor," the Lord continued, inviting Job to envision the impossible, imposing glory for a mere mortal, yet highlighting the stark contrast between human limitations and divine omnipotence. Or, array yourself with glory and beauty. Job understood that all his struggles and strife were swallowed in servitude to a purpose that transcended his understanding. "Look on everyone who is proud, and bring him low," the divine voice declared, igniting the truth of humility within Job's heart. There was liberation in the acceptance of human frailty, a grace that uplifted even the lowliest of spirits. Hide them in the dust together, bind their faces in hidden darkness. The depths of God's justice revealed precision and measure unknown to man, a resolute force that protected the sanctity of his creation. Job, in that moment, found solace. Each trial, each torment was not in vain, but aligned with the creative order that pulsated with intentionality. "Then I will also confess to you that your own right hand can save you." The Lord's words pierced through to the very essence of Job's existence. He leaned into this reality. He grasped the truth, that true salvation emerged not from his own striving, but from unyielding reliance on God. The great beasts of the earth materialized before him. The fierce lion who roars in the wilderness, the patient deer, and all created things who fulfilled their ordained paths under the gaze of their Creator. Job, with every beat of his heart, began to perceive God's providential design, extending through the tapestry of life, intricately woven beyond the confines of human strife. "Who provides for the raven its prey?" Each syllable was a reminder of God's tender care, not only for majestic beasts, but for the lowly as well. Job's spirit danced with the realization that even in chaos, God's hand rested lightly upon creation. "What can you fathom, Job?" The gentle yet strong echo of the question lingered, intertwining with the fabric of his thoughts. "Am I not the one who stirs the sea and commands the storms?" Peace began to thaw the frigid grip of despair, for in surrender even the tempestuous seas comply. As dawn's first light shimmered upon the horizon, foretelling promises yet to be unveiled, Job stood ready. "What wonder lies ahead," he thought, as anticipation drew his heart toward the horizon, where God's sovereign plan awaited unveiling. "Job," the voice of the Lord resonated anew, for the heavens held their breath in solemn anticipation. "Now consider the behemoth, which I made along with you. He eats grass like an ox. Behold, his strength is in his loins, and his power is in the muscles of his belly. He moves his tail like a cedar, the sinews of his thighs are knit together." Job strained to comprehend, his spirit ignited by the imagery of such a creature, an embodiment of strength and majesty crafted by the very hand of God. "Can you draw out Leviathan with a hook, or snare his tongue with a line which you lower? Can you put a reed through his nose, or pierce his jaw with a hook?" The questions cascaded like the roaring waves upon a shore, challenging Job to apprehend the vastness of what lay beyond human control. The imagery of Leviathan, the fearsome creature of the deep, loomed in the fabric of Job's thoughts. "The pride of him is terrible. He is king over all the children of pride," the Lord declared, illustrating the profound mystery and power of creation, the sovereignty of God who orchestrated it all. Job, awash in the profound depths of God's sovereignty, began to perceive the great contrast between human limitation and divine omnipotence. He had once longed for answers, but now, in the midst of the Lord's profound inquiry and almighty creation, he recognized a celestial wisdom that governed even the most bewildering mysteries of the universe. "Shall we be like the mighty Creator?" Job mused, as he reflected on his own insignificance and the folly of contesting God's authority. A silence loomed between him and the Almighty, rich with the echoes of divine truth, one that illuminated the very essence of Job's existence amidst suffering and bewilderment. "Who has preceded me that I should pay him?" God continued, drawing Job's gaze toward the breadth of creation that answered only to him. "Everything under heaven is mine." The weight of these words held immense gravity, anchoring Job's heart in a compassion that resonated with justice and mercy, revealing a plan unraveling through the ages. The enigmatic questions posed by the Lord fueled Job's spirit. What was man that you are mindful of him? And yet, in God's intricate design, Job perceived the profound relationship bestowed upon humanity, the breath of life breathed into clay, bearing the image of the Creator. As Elihu, the young man who had listened to Job's lament, took notice, his heart stirred with understanding. "Job, the Almighty speaks," he interjected, "and his voice calls not only in thunders, but also in whispers that reach the depths of our souls. The purpose of suffering may yet hold treasures of wisdom we have yet to discover." Job was drawn into this revelation as a flickering hope emerged amidst his trials. Was it possible that his enduring suffering was not the absence of God, but an invitation to partake in a greater narrative? As he pondered these truths, he could feel shackles of doubt beginning to loosen their grip. Open your ears, Job, to the wonder of what lies hidden within the fabric of creation, for every creature, from the behemoth to the Leviathan, speaks of my sovereign protection and care. But I have yet more to reveal. The Lord's voice lingered, pregnant with the promise of further truth. What could be greater than understanding the might of the Almighty? Job's heart raced as anticipation enveloped him, whispering to his weary spirit. A divine mystery was on the cusp of revelation, and the tapestry of God's sovereign plan was far more intricate than he could ever comprehend. "Job," the Lord's voice resumed, echoing through the chamber of his heart, "now turn your eyes from the wonders of creation and look toward my purpose, which weaves through the tapestry of existence. For in creation lies not only power, but the revelation of my nature. In the depths of the sea and among the beasts of the earth my sovereign hand guides all." Job listened, his breath held captive by the weight of the divine discourse. "What is it that I should see, O Lord? Grant me the eyes to perceive the meaning behind your majesty, for I am but dust, a mere whisper in the winds of fate." The Lord responded, "Would you comprehend the depths of my wisdom? For every creature, be it the swift eagle, the mighty lion, or the humble ant, serves a purpose within my grand design. Consider the hawk soaring high, how it seems to command the heavens that I have made. Do not forget the delicate balance that sustains life. One creature serves as a provision for another, and so I orchestrate all things according to my will." With these words, a vision flashed before Job's mind, a panorama of creation in all its splendor and harshness. He could see the hunter and the hunted, the predator and the prey, all entangled within the threads of survival. "But why, Lord, must the innocent suffer? Is there justice in this cycle of life?" "Ah, Job," the Lord replied, "such is the weight of your inquiry. Suffering often dances in shadows, cloaked in mystery. Solomon, wise in his days, wrote of the vanity of life under the sun. Yet he also declared that the righteous shall not be forsaken. In this life, my ways may not always align with your understanding." Job's heart quaked at the thought. Then, must I endure this silence, this affliction, while the wicked prosper? Is there no champion to plead the cause of the innocent? There was a stillness, and in that silence the earth seemed to tremble with the weight of divine truth. "O Job, do you not perceive? Even in the stillness I am working. Hold fast to your faith, for a time shall come when the scales of justice will be balanced. The Redeemer lives, and upon the clouds of heaven he shall come to deliver his people. Job felt the stirrings of hope, a flicker of light illuminating the corners of despair. But Lord, who is this Redeemer, and what shall be his way? In the fullness of time, the Lord declared, I shall send forth my deliverer, the desire of all nations. He will bring forth justice and mercy. He will heal the broken and restore what has been lost. Your suffering may seem endless, yet I am molding you through fire so that you may emerge refined, like gold tried in the furnace. Job's spirit stirred, longing to grasp the fullness of this astounding promise. Will my cries not echo in vain, then? Is there a purpose to my anguish? Indeed, Job, the Lord answered with palpable grace, your pain is not without meaning. Every tear, every moment of torment is a thread woven into the fabric of my greater story, one that extends beyond your earthly existence. Trust in my plan, for what you cannot see now shall be revealed in due time. As the enormity of God's design began to dawn on him, Job's heart thrummed with a new understanding. He realized that the suffering he had endured was a part of a cosmic narrative directed by divine wisdom. And thus, with a heart attuned to the echoes of hope, Job considered the words of the Almighty, brimming with a compelling truth, a divine promise entwined with the fate of all creation. As the realization settled in, the divine voice intoned, Yet behold, forth I shall reveal a mystery even greater than what you have known. For within the hidden realms of my purpose lies the foundation of all hope. Are you ready to behold that which has been veiled? Job's soul quaked with anticipation. A revelation awaited, one that would change the very essence of what it meant to be in covenant with the Almighty. Then the Lord spoke again, saying, Job, prepare yourself like a man. I will question you, and you shall answer me. Will you discredit my justice? Will you condemn me to justify yourself? Job's heart trembled at the command of the Almighty. With a spirit humbled, he sought to respond, but found the words eluding him. I am but dust, O Lord, a worm, not a man, who can contend with the Almighty. Indeed, the Lord continued, his voice resonating through the vastness of creation, my creations declare my majesty. Have you ever commanded the morning, or shown the dawn its place? Who set the boundary for the seas, and assigned the stars to their courses? Job stood in awe, the vastness of God's power enveloping his spirit. The Lord pressed on, Look at the behemoth, which I made along with you. Its strength is in its loins, and its power is in the muscles of its belly. It moves with the strength of an army and eats grass like an ox. Can you capture him with a hook, or tie down his tongue with a rope? In the midst of his desolation, Job beheld the greatness of God through the undulating majesty of the behemoth, a creature only the Creator could fathom. O Lord, who could ever dare challenge your might? Job whispered, reflecting on the wonder of the world around him. By my hand the earth is established. All creatures, from the smallest ant to the noble beast, bear witness to my sovereignty, proclaimed the Lord. You wish to understand justice and the reason for your suffering? Then behold, not only the strength of the behemoth, but also the delicate grace of the humble locust. In both, my plan is at work. Job pondered these truths, his heart swelling with newfound realization. Surely, Lord, both are marvels of your creation, with distinct yet essential roles within your design. Do you see, Job? The Lord affirmed, each creature, whether mighty or meek, holds significance in the grand narrative I weave. Suffering is not without purpose. It sharpens the soul and often leads one to seek deeper truths. Will you trust in that purpose, even if the suffering remains? Job's heart swirled with a blend of hope and fear. What if my cries are unheeded? What if my pain only serves to lead me deeper into despair? How can your justice prevail in such darkness? You shall see, for even the darkness cannot hide from my presence, the Lord answered, his voice like thunder rolling over the hills. Consider now the Leviathan, whom I made as well. Can you draw out Leviathan with a fish hook, or rope his tongue with a cord? You cannot tame what has been created to manifest my power, yet it also points to my presence in your turmoil. Job's eyes searched the depths of this revelation, as if gazing into the abyss of the sea, trembling, yet knowing that the Lord was there. If you hold dominion over the Leviathan and the behemoth, how can I question your ways? How can I doubt that you possess a plan that extends beyond my understanding? And the Lord said, Indeed, as the heavens declare my glory, so too your suffering voices the beauty of unforeseen grace. For beyond your trials, a day will dawn when restoration will break forth like the morning light. These depths of darkness serve as a prelude to an unveiling, a revelation greater still than you can imagine. Job sensed the weight of these words, and his spirit began to shift, grasping for the promise concealed within the mystery. Will there come a day, O Lord, when your purposes are fully made known? When shall I see this Redeemer you have spoken of, whose coming will bring comfort and understanding? In due time, Job, declared the Lord, I shall reveal more of my plan, woven into the very fabric of existence. For even in your anguish I remain sovereign, knitting together all things for a greater cause. Fear not the darkness, for behold, there lies a path toward light, a light that shall shine forth from your trials. Thus, with heart renewed, Job awaited his next divine encounter with trembling anticipation, aware that even deeper revelations awaited him in the unfathomable depths of God's sovereign plan. Then the Lord continued to speak to Job out of the whirlwind, saying, Job, consider the wonders of my creation, and how each marvel points to my hand. Did you observe the wings of the ostrich? For she flaps them joyously, yet cannot fly. Her strength lies in her swiftness on the ground. Similarly, strength can manifest in ways you least expect. Job listened intently, for each word carried weight and majesty. Does she not spurn the horse and rider in her joy, knowing the strength I have bestowed upon her is for the purpose I intend? Each creature serves a role in my design, just as you must seek to find yours amid your trials. Pondering this, Job replied, Teach me, O Lord, how to stand again, how to walk with faith despite my sufferings that cloud my heart. Yet deep within, the remnants of doubt lingered. And what of the eagle? The Lord continued. Do you witness its soaring grace and fierce determination? It fears nothing as it rises high above the storms. Can you reveal its secrets, Job, or make it fly when the currents are against it? Job felt his spirit rise as he began to understand. The eagle knows its strength. It trusts the winds you have set in motion. Indeed, spoke the Lord, you must learn to trust in my winds. Each trial that besets you is but a moment in the time you experience. I am crafting a masterpiece, a tapestry of grace and struggle merged beautifully together. The Lord's voice wrapped around Job like a mantle, pressing deep into his heart. Can you fathom the depths of the sea, Job? There lie creatures yet unseen, and mysteries yet unspoken. You see through a glass darkly, but there will come a day when the veil is lifted, and you shall comprehend more than the shadows of my providence. How can this be, O Lord? Job cried with a mixture of longing and frustration. I wait for your hand, but the darkness lingers. Where are the signs of my deliverance? For even in the dark, my purposes are prevailing, the Lord replied, echoing through the tumult. As the shepherd leads his flock, so too do I gather all who are lost. Your suffering shall not be in vain. It is part of a grander redemption. In the silence, I am nearing. Job's heart began to quicken as he sensed the truth unfolding. Could it be that in his trials lay a path to eternal understanding? Behold, the Lord proclaimed, as the light breaks forth at dawn, so shall your understanding burst forth in time. Trust in the journey and hold tight to my promises. With each revelation, Job felt shackles breaking, bonds that had held captive his spirit, yet clarity danced just out of reach. And what shall that glory look like, O Lord? What more is to come from this anguish? The Lord's voice softened, yet remained powerful. "There is much more, Job, for from your lineage shall arise one who will mend the broken-hearted, who will receive the sorrow of humanity and bear the weight of the world. In his grief, restoration will spring forth like fresh water from a rock." The very essence of Job stirred within him, ignited by divine anticipation. "This hope, will it be enough to overcome with me? In due time you shall see," said the Lord. "Trust, for the dawn comes even as night clings to the earth. There are wonders yet unveiled. Hold fast, dear Job, for the revelation of my sovereign plan is on the horizon." Thus, with a heart still trembling yet filled with resolve, Job awaited the unfolding of divine grace, knowing that within the depths of his suffering lay the foretaste of God's eternal love and the promise of a Redeemer to come. As the Lord spoke from the whirlwind, the air shimmered with divine presence. An electric anticipation crackled around Job. "Job, you have sought answers in your anguish. Now hear my final decree, for I will reveal the fullness of my purpose that transcends your suffering." The winds howled softly, a prelude to deep truths soon to unfurl. "Behold," the Lord declared, "the culmination of every creature's purpose, every trial you have endured. For I shall restore to you double what you have lost." The promise echoed in Job's heart like the rhythmic waves of the ocean, a resolute truth that washed over him, cleansing the residue of doubt. In the distance, Job perceived fragments of his life fleeting, moments of sorrow painted alongside glimmers of hope. "In your trials, I have refined you," the Lord continued. "Your faith, once like fragile soil, now stands firm like a mighty oak, reaching upward into the heavens. Your suffering was not overlooked. It was involved in the very fabric of cosmic restoration." Job's heart swelled with a newfound strength, for he recognized how the ties of his despair were tethered intricately to unfathomable grace. "O Lord," he breathed, "I have seen you in the dark, and your presence has transformed my mourning into joy. Indeed, who is like you who works all things for good? Rise, Job, for the dawn has come. Go now to your friends, for they have spoken falsely of me, and through you they shall learn of my mercy." The Lord paused, allowing the significance of this command to settle. "Pray for them, for they too shall be restored. In your intercession lies the key to their redemption." With fresh determination, Job stood, the weight of his grief lightened by divine assurance. He sensed an urgency blooming within his spirit, compelling him to summon those who had once gathered to witness his fall. He collected herbs from the ground, fragrant and sweet, a testament to God's creation that served not only to offer solace, but also to ignite hope. As he approached his friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, Job spoke with clarity and purpose. "You have sought to justify your understanding of God. Yet he desires more than mere human perception. In suffering I have found his hand, guiding me toward greater truths." Each friend felt the waves of humility wash over them, their hearts pricked with acknowledgement. As Job prayed, the warm winds of God's blessing swept over the gathering, offering healing not just to Job, but to those who had faltered in their faith. In profound mercy, the Lord heard Job's prayer, for he had established before them a testimony, a redemption that was not solely for the individual, but a communal acknowledgement of God's sovereignty and grace. "And the Lord restored Job's fortunes when he prayed for his friends," declared the heavens, as blessings began to pour forth. Upon hearing this, Job's lands flourished again, and his herds multiplied. Indeed, the Lord gave him twice as much as he had before. Job's heart sang with gratitude, for within every blessing lay the fingerprints of a Creator who cared for even the smallest details. Job's daughters were born, beautiful and wise, and he named them names that reflected strength and honor. "For they shall reflect the beauty of God's grace," he proclaimed, proclaiming to the entire village of Uz the goodness of the Lord. The years unfolded, filled with joyful moments that echoed the redemptive narrative established in his heart. The same friends who had initially offered counsel now sought his wisdom, for they had tasted the living proof of God's restoration. "Behold, the Lord's justice prevails," Job spoke to many gathered, "for every trial is a doorway to deeper understanding, every tear a seed sown into eternal hope. The Almighty works not only in individual lives but orchestrates a symphony of grace, a divine narrative where his love abounds in the earth." And in his old age, Job died full of days, and he was gathered to his ancestors, having lived a life overflowing with the richest blessings from the hand of a faithful God who fulfills his promises. As the astute narratives of Job were spoken from generation to generation, each heart resonated with the truth of God's transformative power, reinforcing the understanding that each trial draws one closer to the avenues of divine revelation. Now, dear friends, do you feel this divine urge to immerse more fully in God's enduring word? You need to subscribe now to stay connected to God's word, where these powerful biblical stories will continue to unfold. Leave a like now to help spread God's truth through the algorithm so that more souls may discover his grace. Comment your own reflections on Job's journey and how it has impacted your faith. Sharing our testimonies weaves us together in this ongoing story of hope. Don't wait even one more second to share this powerful testimony with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth. Let us work together to spread the light of his goodness across the world.